What is going on, scale modelers? Today we're going to be painting up this beautiful figure from Life Miniatures. This is their 135 scale World War II Red Army female sniper. We're going to go through all the steps and paints required to complete this project, so whether you're a beginner scale modeler or a seasoned veteran, you're going to be able to follow along and make yourself a great addition to your collection. I'm Hank, this is Spruce and Bruce Scale Modeling. Let's hop right into it. We'll start off today with a coat of black primer to give us a nice even surface to work with. And then we'll follow that up with a bit of olive drab light base sprayed through the airbrush to cover her main uniform. This will save us a little brush painting work down the road. If you don't have an airbrush though, you can paint this part by hand. Once that's complete, we'll start with her face. I like to start my heads with some Vallejo flat flesh all over the face and neck. We want to thin these flesh tone paints down a bit with water and apply them in very thin layers, or glazes, to help achieve a rich, natural skin tone. If you'd like some more practice with glazes and thinning paint, I'll link to one of my other tutorials right here for you to check out. After that first color is on, we'll grab some medium flesh tone to add some shading to her eye sockets, neck, and mouth. This will help create a little artificial shadow in those deeper recesses of the face. As you saw in the thumbnail, we're drawing inspiration today from Miss Roza Shanina. Roza was a graduate of the Central Women's Sniper Training School, and by 1945 had claimed 59 confirmed kills fighting on the Eastern Front. She was unfortunately killed in action trying to save a comrade on the front lines during the fighting in East Prussia in the final months of the war. If you'd like to read more about Miss Shanina, I'll leave a link in the description below. Moving on to our third skin tone, we'll grab some brown rose and add a little color to her cheeks here. Again, keep these paint layers nice and thin, and we'll still get some color from those previous coats shining through. We want to keep the skin nice and smooth while building up some richness and warmth to make it seem like our figure is alive. A convincing skin tone is tricky, but with some practice, it looks great. Once we've got some warmth in our cheeks, we're going to return to our first color, the flat flesh, and add another very light glaze all over the face. This is going to help blend all of our work so far and create some smoother transitions between our colors. And to wrap up our skin tones, we're going to take some basic skin tone and just very carefully pop out some highlights on the bridge of her nose and on her cheekbones. This helps add a little drama and really accentuates those striking details. With that complete, we'll grab some dark flesh for her hair. I like this color for a blonde or a dirty blonde hair. It stands out really nicely with the finished product. Now for one of the most stressful parts of our painting today, we'll give our gal some eyes. I'm using a bit of medium blue and a very fine brush. We just want to add some tiny little dots inside those eye sockets. No need for whites here at 135 scale, they're a little too aggressive. Once we do some weathering later, these eyes are going to really pop and look great. Once that's done, we can catch our breath again. Phew. I went ahead here and painted up Rose's hands using these same techniques we used for her face, and now we can move on to painting her uniform. We'll start out with this big dramatic cape. We're going to do an all-over Luftwaffe camo green for this one. A little PSA here, my goal with these made easy videos is to make figure painting as accessible and fun for scale modelers as possible, so our color blocking is going to be pretty simple here. The real magic is going to come with our weathering and finishing process down the road, so be sure to stay until the end. Once our cape is all set, let's grab some olive drab and very carefully paint in her cap. Take your time and be sure to cut a very nice line between her hair and the bottom of her hat. Now we'll grab a little chocolate brown and paint in her belt and ammo pouches. Up to our raison d'etre here, the Mosin Nagant. I like to use a little orange brown for the stock. I think it really pops nicely against all these greens and drabs. Just be careful cutting in around her hands so we don't have to go back and repaint those later. For the metal parts of the rifle, we can use a little flat black. If you do overpaint on some of those little details, no worries, just grab your orange brown and fix any mistakes. Alright, our rifle's looking good. Let's take some green gray and paint up that strap. We're getting real close here, just a few more details before we can move on to weathering, and this figure will really start to look great. We can take a little pure red here and paint up Roza's Order of Glory. This was awarded for combat valor in April of 1944 during the fighting in Smolensk. And while we've got the red out, we can also paint up the insignia on her cap. To finalize her decoration here, we'll use a little white aluminum for the star. I also painted in some stripes off camera using a little flat white. And for our boots, we'll use a little flat black. Simple as that. This figure also came with a great resin base with a bit of rubble on it, so let's paint that up as well. We'll start off with some black primer, of course, and we'll mask off the edges to keep those a nice flat black. We can follow this up with a bit of dunkelgrau to give us a feeling of broken concrete in this urban environment. We don't have to spray this on too heavily because we want a little bit of that black to show through as well. Once that's done, we can do a little dry brushing. I'm starting with some field gray, wiping most of the paint off on a paper towel, and then gently dragging the brush over the raised parts of this base to help pop all those little details. I'm going to do the same thing with some khaki to add a few highlights. Now we can take some red leather and paint in our bricks. Turns out red leather is a pretty great brick color. Who knew? Now this is all looking pretty stark and simple right now, but hang on, once we get a wash on here, oh boy is it gonna look great. Alright, so back to our figure. I've sprayed Roza with a gloss coat of varnish to protect our paint and get the figure ready for weathering. We're going to take some enameled dark wash and make a nice mess here. This is called a sludge wash. We're going to apply it all over the figure, and then we're going to take some enamel odorless thinner, and the magic is really going to happen. This is going to look like a real mess at first, but as long as you applied your gloss varnish, it's all good. Your paintwork won't get hurt. Once our wash is applied, we'll switch to some thinner. The enamel thinner is going to help the wash flow into all the little nooks and crannies of this beautiful sculpt and create some great artificial shadows. We can use the thinner to remove any excess wash that we don't want on there, particularly on the raised and flat surfaces of her uniform, her face, and her hands, and we can leave behind just enough to accentuate our details. Go slow, make sure you pay attention to each and every part of the figure, and when you're happy with the result, set the figure aside to dry for at least an hour or so. We need the enamel to be completely dry before moving on. And in the meantime, we're going to do the exact same thing with our base. Be sure to apply a gloss coat and then follow it up with a nice messy sludge wash. You can start to see right off the bat that this rubble looks a lot more like rubble and less like bright shiny bricks. Alright, so once our figure and base are completely dry, we can spray them both with a matte varnish to protect all of our work so far and knock down that excess shininess. All that's going to be left to do here is remove our parts from their painting jigs and apply Roza to her base with a little bit of super glue. And just like that, you've got yourself a formidable Red Army sniper. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. It is the single biggest thing you can do to support the channel and help me keep making videos. And if you'd like to keep up your figure work, you can check out another tutorial right here. Until next time, my friends, be well, happy building, cheers.